Smoke was already curling out from under the garage door when I hit the driveway. My niece's fists were pounding inside her screams, muffled by steel and fire. And the worst part? That lock wasn't an accident. It was ordered, signed, and enforced by our HOA president, Patricia. Act 1. The conflict begins. My name's Daniel Mercer, and I never thought I'd be fighting a homeowners association like it was a cartel. I spent 15 years as a fire marshal writing safety codes and investigating tragedies. After my brother passed away, I became guardian to his daughter Emily, 12 years old, whip-smart, and the kind of kid who still drew chalk hearts on the garage wall because it made her feel closer to the grandfather she never met. That garage wasn't just a space. My father built it with his own hands. Concrete poured by him, beams set by him, the smell of his aftershave still lingering on the tools. It was the last piece of him we had. To Emily, it was a playroom. To me, it was a promise. But to Patricia, clipboard in hand, crimson blazer, manicured nails tapping like a judge's gavel, it was a violation. She called it unauthorized storage. She called it non-compliance. One afternoon, she ordered her security guy to bolt on a brand-new locking plate right in front of me. "Rules are rules," she said without even looking at me. The steel clanked shut like a prison door. Emily's drawing suns and crooked hearts were still fresh on the walls inside. In that moment, Patricia turned my father's legacy into a coffin. I warned her. That lock wouldn't pass a single inspection in this county. You just broke 3 state codes before lunch. She smirked. This community doesn't run on your opinion, Mr. Mercer. It runs on compliance. That word compliance, it was her religion. And that day I realized something. This wasn't about fines or order. It was about power. When I walked into the HOA office later, I caught Marcus, her vice president, laughing while mailing out violation notices. A kayak left on a dock, a lawn half an inch too tall. They didn't even blink, just smirked like bullies with paperwork. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just my fight. Patricia's rules were choking everybody, and most were too scared, too beaten down to resist. Act 2. Escalation and turning point. The official fine landed in my mailbox like a punch. $1,500. Red ink signature across the bottom like Patricia was handing down a death sentence. I stormed into the clubhouse with the paper in my fist. Residents were lined up like defendants at arraignment. Patricia sat with her board, smiling, sharp enough to cut. "You're endangering lives," I told her. "That lock is a fire trap, and you know it." Marcus chuckled. "Unsafe storage is unsafe storage. Rules apply to everyone, badge or no badge." I leaned across the table. "I know the law. And when your rules put a child's life at risk, you're not running a community, you're running a liability factory." For a split second, her smile twitched. She knew I wasn't bluffing. And more importantly, the residents behind me heard it. But later that night, the doubt crept in. Emily climbed onto my lap, holding her stuffed bear, whispering, "Uncle Daniel, they won't lock me in again, right?" Her question sliced me open. What if I was wrong? What if I pushed too hard and lost the house, lost the only home she had left? For a moment, I almost gave up. I almost told myself to pay the fine and shut my mouth. Then came the fire. A neighbor's garage 2 doors down erupted in flames. Their teenage son was trapped inside, fists pounding the door the same way Emily had pounded, the same lock Patricia forced on all of us. I ran, grabbed a crowbar, jammed it under the latch, shoved until metal screamed and tore. Smoke blasted my face as the boy stumbled out coughing alive. His mother sobbed into his chest. The crowd cheered, but I wasn't celebrating. I knew it wasn't a miracle. It was luck. And luck runs out fast. And when I looked up, Patricia was there at the edge of the crowd. Pale face, chin high, blazer blazing red like a warning flag. She raised her hand, shouting, "This was an isolated incident." The system worked, but the neighbors didn't believe her anymore. They'd seen too much. That night, Mara Jensen showed up at my porch. She was a board member, usually quiet, always in Patricia's shadow. Her hands shook as she held out her phone. "I kept records," she whispered. "Screenshots, minutes Patricia ordered me to delete. She knew the locks broke code. She pushed them through anyway. I can't carry it anymore." I stared at the evidence glowing on her screen. Emails, votes, cover-ups. Patricia's empire wasn't just corrupt, it was criminal. That was the turning point. I wasn't just a neighbor fighting back. I had proof. And Mara, trembling as she was, had just cracked Patricia's armor from the inside. From there I went to work, documenting every lock, every violation, every story of intimidation. The widow fined for oxygen tanks, the dad punished for a child's playhouse, the mother in chemo ordered to repaint shutters, all stamped as safety compliance, all lies. When neighbors saw my photos, saw the codes I'd highlighted, their fear turned to anger. And anger moves mountains. Act 3, The Showdown in Justice. The next HOA meeting was standing room only. Folding chairs jammed wall to wall. Neighbors crammed into the back, whispering like a storm was about to break. Patricia sat at the front clipboard, angled like a shield, Marcus by her side. She still thought she was untouchable. I walked down the aisle, carrying a binder under one arm, and in my other hand the twisted, blackened lock I'd ripped off that burning garage. When I slammed it onto the table, the clang echoed through the hall like a gavel. This, I said steady, is what almost killed a boy in this neighborhood. Gasps, murmurs, eyes darting between me and Patricia. "Mr. Mercer, this is not your turn to speak," Patricia snapped. "It's exactly my turn," I cut in. "While you were busy writing fines, I was documenting crimes." I flipped the binder open. Page after page of photos, code citations, testimony. I read aloud the exact statute. These locks obstruct emergency egress. Under state law, they are a Class C felony if they result in injury or death. And you signed off on every single one. The crowd erupted. Patricia banged her pen against the table. Exaggerations, scare tactics. Really? I snapped the binder shut and pulled out my phone. Pressed play. Mrs. Alvarez's trembling voice filled the room. "If Daniel hadn't ripped that lock off, my son would be dead." A woman in the back covered her mouth. A man muttered, "God Almighty." And then Mara stood, hands shaking but chin high. She told us to delete the records. I saved them. She walked to the table, dropped her own folder beside mine. Emails, minutes, proof of Patricia's cover-up. That was it. Patricia's armor shattered. Neighbors surged forward, waving violation slips, shouting stories they'd swallowed for months. Patricia screamed enough, but her voice was drowned in a roar of voices refusing to be silenced. I held the burned lock high above my head. This is what she gave us, a death trap. But tonight we take our neighborhood back. The roar that followed shook the walls. Even Patricia's board shifted away from her, their loyalty cracking in real time. And then the deputy sheriff at the door stepped forward. Someone had called him. Maybe Mara. Maybe the county fire marshal, who now had my entire case file. Either way, Patricia wasn't leaving with a clipboard. She was leaving under escort. She shot me one last glare as they let her out, but there was no power left in it. Just venom. Just defeat. A closing lesson. The next morning, her resignation letter hit the community email. The locks were ordered removed by noon. And for the first time in months, sunlight poured through my garage across Emily's chalk drawings, crooked hearts, bright suns, no longer hidden behind steel. Patricia thought compliance was power. What she forgot is that silence only works until somebody calls it out.